I'm Jean Keene, the Eagle Lady of Homer, Alaska. Homer is about 220 miles south of Anchorage, and it's a place where it's right on the ocean, and I live on a place called the home of Homer Spit, which is a projectile of land about 5 miles out into the ocean. And so we're surrounded on water by all sides, of course, except for the road that goes to town. I started an eagle feeding program about 10 or 11 years ago, and started out with just a very few birds, three or four that just happened to be hanging around. I threw a few scraps out, and now it's developed into really a major operation where I have over 300 birds, and I feed many, many thousands of pounds of food during the course of the winter. I get this food from Seward Fisheries, where I'm in charge of the crab processing over there. And so in the fall of the year, I'm able to save food for them. Also, people will clean out the freezers from their freezer burned meat, and fishermen will bring me fish that is not good for human consumption, but is fine for the birds. So that way I get all my food for them. And I have to know that I'm going to have enough food when I start to go through the winter before I do start. Because once you start, you can't stop. You have to feed every day, and regardless of the weather. And sometimes we get some very heavy winds out here in the wintertime where it's 30 below wind chill, and the only time they don't come in is when there's whiteout conditions or fog where they can't see. Then they will stay away for a day, and then of course come in the next day a lot hungrier than what they have would be ordinarily. They start coming in about the middle of November, and they start leaving about the middle of April to May 1st. At that time, they're all gone back to their nesting areas, and I have some coming from as far away as Kodiak, which is 160 air miles away. And they're tagged ones, so that's how come we can trace where that they have come from. And Fish and Wildlife support this program, and they know that if they find a bird that's caught in a trap and he's not hurt real bad, that they can let him loose, and if he's not too far away, they know he'll find his way here and have food for the winter, and they'll heal themselves quite fast. And it's a lot easier on a bird that way than it is to capture them and take them to the raptor center, as it creates a lot of stress on an eagle to be captured and taken into captivity. These are all bald eagles, and they develop their white head between the age of 5 and 6 years, and I have a lot of immatures. Only about 50% of your immatures survive their first year, and I'm creating a situation where probably 75% survive. So of course it's creating a lot more eagles here in Alaska. And this is probably the only place in the world that you can see this many eagles this close up. We have larger groups of eagles at other places, but you cannot get this close to them. And I have barricades up and signs for people that come out to take pictures. And as long as you stay in your car and just roll your window down, you can get within 20 or 30 feet of them a lot of times, and don't even need a zoom lens for your camera. But the minute you open your car door, then they leave. And so it's the same as with any wildlife. The less that they see of you, the more you're going to see of them. And I put up a camouflage here in my yard and set my camera behind it so that they didn't even know that they were being filmed. And because I feed them right over my fence here. And I live right on the ocean. And so you could maybe be able to hear the ocean in the background. But I also haul up a lot of driftwood off the beach we have a lot of storms, and it brings in a lot of heavy driftwood, so I haul it up and place it around in the feeding area so they're able to perch up on that, and it makes it quite a picturesque scene. Also, the fact that they like to sit up off the ground too. And so it's, as I say, it's quite picturesque to come and see, about 300 eagles sitting around. They'll sit around for an hour or two after they're done feeding, as long as they're not disturbed. But if dogs start running through or people start running around, then they leave immediately. And they come in at daybreak. So as the days get longer, then I get up earlier and earlier. And by the time April comes, I'm getting up about 5 in the morning to feed them. And they'll stay around. They usually feed for about 2 hours. And I have quite a few cripple birds that come in that have been caught in traps and are missing toes or missing a foot or missing sometimes a whole leg. And this just gives them an easier chance to survive. And in the wintertime, it gets pretty tough for them when everything is frozen up, and if we don't have a good rabbit crop, why there's a lot less food around for them. And plus the fact that a lot of people have moved in and taken up their territory, as they have with the moose and the caribou and all the wildlife. So I really feel that we better start giving them a helping hand when it's necessary. And because we'd like to keep this really a great land that it is, and with all the wildlife that we have. And this is probably about the most beautiful place in the world right here on the Homer Spit with the beautiful mountains around. So I do not have real good camera equipment like I would like to have. I can't afford it. But I tried to get some good shots, and really hope that you enjoy it. So thank you. I'm going to be throwing some more food out here. I get a chance to see them come down and pick it up. This is 7th of December, so it was only about a third of the birds have come in. There's going to be well over 300 another month or so. That was not going to let anybody get his food. They can really wrap those rings right around themselves. Now, if we're lucky, we'll see some eagles taking a bath. Something you don't see very often. We had a lot of rain last night and left this big freshwater pool down there, so they're all kind of sitting around in it after they get done eating. I'm going to move the camera very slowly and see if we can pick up a bunch of them. A big pile of goodies for them down here. See them all lined up on the beach down there. It's starting to rain, so I may have to quit filming here, and I've got stuff in front of me blocking the view. This is the kind of weather that makes it tough on the eagles. We've got a high tide like this and wind chills at least 40 below. The wind's blowing about 50 and temperatures around 10. Birds don't even get a chance to come in and feed because of the whiteout conditions, blowing snow, and now the heavy seas. It's coming right down into their feeding area. I'm taking this from inside because the camera wouldn't stand it outside today.
This bird landed in the water for some fishing. Is swimming to shore. Looks like it's going to make it. It looks like it's up on the beach now, flapping its wings. We picked this bird up at Anchor Point yesterday in a target shooting area. She has a wounded wing. It's possible she may have caught a bullet there.
Casts its spell on Jean Keene of Homer. During the winter, she's fed and cared for hundreds of bald eagles in her spare time. Alaska has so much to offer anyone who's willing to take it. It is a wilderness beyond the wildest imagination, just waiting to be explored. Alaska.
It's the first time moose have ever been out this far on the spit. She's looking for something to eat. Evidently, there's nothing out here for her. She's just laying there, kind of chewing her cud and relaxing. This is the moose that was resting at my place. She's still out here. We've been feeding her, and Fish and Game are going to try and get her off the spit this week. I'm about ready to give her some potatoes and bananas and cabbage and stuff. She got up the minute she saw my truck. That's Rob. Rob? Yeah. He got it, didn't he? Yeah. Boy, the other day I thought I was going to have to pick him up. They hit him and that leg hurt so bad that he just crumples to the ground. And he was just laying out here, you know. And I threw him some more food, but he gathered strength and he flew off. But he's the one that was hurt real bad a year ago. Late in the spring, he'd gotten caught, and I didn't think he was going to make it, but... He's just sitting on an ice floe. Big chunk of ice out in the bay. This is Rob. He's only got one leg now. His foot has fallen off. You see he's having a pretty tough time.
Once I get her out, you
This
can
fella killed in this camp over here.
Oh, Jerry, Carol. Free. Just a minute. There you go.
John Martin told me, he said that he gave you permission to try and get that jump.
Wow, Dave.
She does that. Hold on to
Turn
the
it
legs.
upside down.
It's all right, honey. It's okay. We're not going to hurt you. You're probably back home and don't know it.
Watch the You gotta watch this one wing. It's got an injury on it.
Here,
There you go.
If we're bothering you, just tell us to get out of here. Stand in there, Nancy.
It's all right.
There you go. I got it.
Oh, you hate my guts, don't you? I'm the source of a lot of your problems.
Pirate, here's a girlfriend for you.
God, he's beautiful.
She's just a real young bird. Her tail feathers are a little...
Oh,
She's just hatched last summer.
really?
Yeah. That's why I'm a little worried about her. You can see that somebody found her across Catchment Bay and then sent her over, and she lost her rear toe. So
Yeah,
she's not a very experienced hunter, so kind of worried about her.
Oh,
That's
she
why I
does
wanted
have
to
a
release
band on,
her.
though, so I can
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I didn't put a radio on her. I debated it, and I thought she needed all the chances she had.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
What a treat.
You want me to turn around now?
On this side. That's a very important toe, too, that helix. It's a gripping toe.
And which was the toe?
This one right here. Oops. See, here. See, she has it on this side. That's her gripping toe. That's what she uses to grip. And she lost the nail off this middle talon, too. But I think that'll come back. You know what, Tom? That toe is really flexible, though.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. You see that toe, kiddo? No, she just was trying to
Man, it's warm and it moves.
Yeah, you're okay.
It'll probably grow back.
Later, but she weighs probably about
10 to 12 pounds.
yeah.
She's been getting fattened up with her lifestyle.
Well, I've got lots of nice big fresh areas.
That'll be good.
Yeah, we got her pretty fat so she can go a while without something to eat.
Could we get a minute's warning before you do? I mean, what's the...
You want to let her go?
When you're ready to fling her up in the sky, I'd like to get a picture. Oh, sure. All right, Eagle. Off you go.
Everybody say a little prayer, huh?
This is Grover, and he was so hungry this morning. He came in and is eating out of the bucket of food in the back of my truck before I could even get it out. He has a hard time keeping his balance, and he's got a real sore foot. It is kind of a tough time eating. This eagle just killed a seagull about 10 minutes ago. Not much left of him now. I guess he decided he wanted a warm meal this morning. This is Grover up on top of one of my campers. He comes in real close so he can get his food. Gotta give him a lot of credit. He's a tough old bird with his real sore foot and everything. This is Grover again. He just come in to eat this afternoon. It's a very cold day. He'll sit up there on that log pile, kind of out of the wind now. It's an eagle eating another seagull. They've really been kind of hard on him this year. Down there, he's got a very sore foot. Kind of a new handicap one this year. He just got through eating a big herring, so he's probably pretty full. There, you can see that foot now. It's probably been caught in a trap. This is February 3rd, 1990, and I'm sure I've got at least 300 birds in here again now. They really like to sit up on these log piles that we have after they're done eating. Up on top of the big gas tanks. They're all full pretty much, and they're just sitting around resting. This is an immature eagle eating on a seagull again. Warning the other birds away.
Come out here just in a second now.
Half years old, and she was about 2.5 years old. She came in from Cold Bay with a broken jaw. She originally went to Bird Treatment Learning Center in Anchorage, where they did surgery and inserted a plastic slip into her jaw to shift it over. I did home care with her for approximately a year. First she ate with tongs, and then she ate food cut up in little pieces, and then we worked her up to where she was eating whole fish and able to tear. Then she went to the flight center at Fort Rich for flight training. And so then I brought her out here, and I hope that she does good, so that she'd have more eagles to hang around with and a good food.
Released about 10 days ago. She evidently got pretty hungry, so she's back for a little snack. Otherwise, she seems to be doing fine. This bird has a broken beak on the bottom. We're going to try and pick it up today. He hasn't been able to eat for the last 3 days in here. It's going to be getting pretty weak if we don't get him picked up today. This is the bird it couldn't eat, and we tried to capture the other day and finally had success today. I thought I would add a couple things after the movie.
And I strongly suggest that people do not start a feeding program like this unless you talk with Fish and Wildlife and unless you know that you're going to have enough food for the birds for all winter long. It takes many thousands of pounds of food for the winter. And fortunately, I have Seward fisheries over here, and if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be able to do this. And so if we don't want to make pets out of them, and I don't make any attempt to make pets out of them, I watch the crippled ones and watch over them to see that they get their food, cut their food up for them, and they will come up pretty close to the fence once they realize that they're the easy access for food for them there. And so that's one reason to have the barricades up, is to keep people kind of out of sight of the eagles, and yet they can watch them and take their pictures, and sometimes they have kind of a tough time making people realize that they should stay in their cars so they don't disturb them any. Also, I want to mention that there is a big cleanup job with this. After the birds are done feeding, then all the carcasses, which the meat's all been taken off them, has to be raked up and put into totes and taken back over and put into the grinder and put back out into the ocean again then. This process takes, from the feeding process itself into the cleanup, takes between 5 and 6 hours a day in the wintertime. So it takes up a lot of the day. And a lot of times I hire people to give me a hand, and any money I put out is out of my own pocket. I don't get money from anywhere else, but it's a labor of love, so I certainly don't mind that. And maybe you noticed the one bird in there with the 1 foot, and that's one of the crippled ones, and of course, and they get around pretty good with just one stub, but it's easier if they can have the cut up food for them. And also the immature one that had a very bad right foot, and at the beginning of the season it couldn't put any weight on that foot, but by the end, when the spring came, why, it was putting weight on it, and it was getting much better. Hopefully it'll be back this winter. And the one that you saw just a headshot of is Pirate, and he's been coming for 3 years, and he has a stiff right leg. His ankle is rather swollen, but he flies with it, the foot hanging down the leg, and because he can't retract it, but he gets along pretty well. And he's kind of a ham. He does come up pretty close, all right, but of course he's not here in the summertime. None of them are here in the summertime. But as I said, I kind of work with Fish and Wildlife on this, and if any birds are bad enough hurt that we feel they need to be taken into the Raptor Center, of course I always contact them. And then sometimes if a bird has been healed up at the Raptor Center, they'll bring them back here and release them. So because they're with the other birds, and they know that that they'll have the food that they need. And so, okay, thank you very much.
Billy Taylor later this morning on Lena Horne and A Life in Song. Among the Eagles is a story from Jerry Bowen.
We have come to the Homer Spit on Kachemak Bay in Alaska to talk about man and nature. Actually, to talk about one woman and her effort to help nature. Every winter, Jean Keene puts out food for the hundreds of birds in her backyard. Her birds just happen to be bald eagles. The story of Jean Keene, the Eagle Lady of Homer, Alaska, later this Sunday morning.
We will take you on a tour this morning of a... Turkey should be the national bird of the United States of America. It's a little hard to understand how so wise a man as Franklin could have had that idea. But then it may be that he never actually saw any eagles on the wing, sitting there in Philadelphia, thinking and tinkering and setting type. Certainly he never traveled as far north as Jerry Bowen is about to take us to meet a champion of the eagle or to see such sights as we are about to see.
Spring has made another breathtaking arrival in Kachemak Bay, Alaska. And that means it's nearly time for all the squawking and screeching and flapping to end in Jean Keene's backyard.
I think we should give our wildlife a helping hand. And I just do it over the rough times of the winter.
Jean Keene's backyard is a vacant campground on the Homer Spit, a 5-mile-long finger of land that's home to fishing fleets and the summer tourist trade. And for the last 15 winters, home to the eagles, all kinds. Young brown-feathered birds, old wizened ones having bad hair days, ill-mannered diners screeching with their beaks full. And Jean Keene is the eagle lady.
I don't like to see food go to waste, so I just threw some scraps out. And then pretty soon it led to maybe a bucket of fish and 2 buckets of fish. So over the period of years, I feed about, I'd say a good 600 pounds a day now.
An act of charity that's become a January to April tradition, a sunrise ritual that rarely varies. 300 hungry eagles wait atop every conceivable roost. Tourists wait too, in cars and trucks with cameras ready under the sharp eyes of Jean Keene.
Ma'am, please stay in your vehicle. I've got everybody out, and he shouldn't be down there either.
And finally, the morning feast arrives. Fish remains stored up over the summer at the packing plant where Jean works as a supervisor. Donations from friends, too.
So I've had like roadkill moose, and somebody brought out a part of a cow the other day, and they get quite a variety.
To her way of thinking, Jean Keene is squaring accounts with nature. Man takes from the sea, she gives something back, piece by piece, to the eagles. Do you have names for the birds?
Oh, only the crippled ones. The one with the bump in his nose there called Spike. He usually gets the share, I see to it.
She has a soft heart, but she's tougher than the Alaska winter, living in a cramped, unheated trailer amidst the bric-a-brac of the north, snowshoes to dog sleds. In a previous life, she was known as Jean Hodgdon, the daredevil rider of the rodeo circuit. That was 40 years ago. She still walks with a limp from the last ride that broke her left leg in 15 places. Why all the driftwood up here?
Well, the eagles like to sit up off the ground, and then people that come out to take pictures like to, it makes a better picture for them sitting on the driftwood. It makes it more picturesque.
There's nowhere else that I know of, and I've lived in Alaska almost 30 years, where you can get this close to the birds without affecting them.
At the fish packing plant, her colleagues see her as a woman on a mission. Jean's boss, Charlie Roberts.
Jean's a tough old bird, you know, to say the least. And she's in love with these birds. She's absolutely in love. That's where her heart is.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the beautiful day you've given us.
In town at Seekin's Bed and Breakfast.
This is moose meat.
The Sunday dinner table wouldn't be quite so full.
Being that close to those majestic birds is incredible.
And Gert Seekin says winter wouldn't be quite the same without the Eagle Lady.
The eagles are just a great attraction for Homer. I think that everybody that comes to Homer goes out to see the eagles.
Appreciate what I'm doing, and some people don't. I don't know, I might not be 100% right, but who knows? Nobody knows, really. And so that I think we better start taking better care of our nature, though. Up here in Alaska, we're not going to have it.
No one said it was easy being the Eagle Lady, and Jean Keene isn't so sure she wants to continue. When the last of the birds leave, she just may close the kitchen for good.
It's kind of headed in that direction, the way things are going. The supply of fish is dwindling down, and then I may retire from the place over there. I'm 70 years old now, so I think they...
70 years old?
Yeah, so I think that they'd like to, you know, say it's time to hang it up, kid.
Not quite yet. There are still some eagles to feed and tourists to take on.
Yeah, ma'am, don't ever walk down into their feeding area. You're just going to scare them out when you do.
And a whole summer and fall ahead to think about what to do when winter comes back to Kachemak Bay.
People lined up for the release of the eagles. is on the Chillicoot River. Chillicoot River.
I'm going to call for him in just a minute, and I'm not even going to tell you who's going to be. Might even be you. You don't know, see? So, what we do want to have happen is we'd like you to stay behind the rope line if you can. The bird is supposed to, I've talked to it at length, and I've told it it's supposed to go straight out there, look around, and fly off in the distance. Now, it might come straight out there and turn and look at somebody that's pretty tasty and say, maybe I'll chase him for a little while. But in any case, we hope it does a good job. I want you all to realize that this lady has given half of her lifetime to making sure that eagles are fed. And she's chopped more salmon than you could put in that whole truck 10 times. Time to go.
Dr. Scott?
Okay, I guess I need somebody to get somewhere. See, you're going to be in the movie, so you've got to get the movie people out there. I'm going to count, but the bird's not going to listen.
Goes Dan.
Back up to there.
It doesn't get any better than that, folks. I told you he couldn't count.
Alaska's new choice for news.
America's favorite symbols is getting some help by caring Alaskans.
Yeah, you grab it. You're coming. Good. Get it. There you go.
Doctors at the Bird Treatment and Learning Center in Anchorage say this injured male eagle is getting his appetite back after having surgery yesterday on its face. The bird was found with severe head injuries last week near Homer. Doctors say they're keeping a close eye on the eagle's condition.
They'll treat it each day with tea tree oil. We'll have about 5 or 6 days of that. Along about the 10th day from yesterday, it's going to tell us if it's going to make it or not.
And the center helps more than 1,000 birds each year.
Okay. Well, there's no one here to make any introductory comments, so you're stuck with me. I'm dressed for the occasion, as you can tell. You all know Jean Keene. If you don't, I urge you to visit our display, which we created last winter, which is in our midship section of the hotel over here. And it's a display that's dedicated to Jean and her life, and particularly her efforts with the Eagles. And this is, I think you all probably read the newspaper and you know what this is about. The Eagle's been in captivity for about a year. And I'd just like to extend a personal thanks to Jean on behalf of the community. I think we owe a lot to Jean for the dedication that she's shown to the Eagles. And I think that what she's shown me is that humans can interfere with nature and make a difference in one animal's life. And Jean has done that in this case. So I'd like to thank her. And Jean, do you have anything you'd like to say? Okay. She's nervous and wants to get going. Yes. A couple more shots. Come on, baby. Okay, yeah, one more shot. Take it off. That's it. Oh, shot.
Yeah. That's right, I got
Okay, is everybody taking enough pictures of me?
My left side's the best.
Look at that. Isn't that pretty?
Isn't that great?
Yes. Probably hadn't flexed those wings in a while.
Not that far, yeah.
Yep. Enjoy what you're seeing now. It's one part of the future.
Tonight, it's a historic broadcast of King 5's Evening Magazine in high-definition television. Alaska, like you've never seen it before.
Hey, when we come back, we're going to take you to Homer. You'll meet the bird lady of Homer, who has eagles for lunch. Right after this. Welcome back, everyone. We move now to Benjamin Island. We're about 15 miles north of Juneau. We have stumbled upon a whole bunch of sea lions. Now, sea lions, by their very nature, want nothing to do with human beings. Even though we are taking their picture on high-definition television, they don't seem very cooperative. You know, speaking of high-definition television, luckily, this is not high-definition smell-o-vision, or you'd be fumigating the house right now. We are, unfortunately, downwind of them. They'll stay here till about June, and then their mating season will begin. Right now, this is sort of their dating season. They're just kind of hanging out, getting to know one another, biting on each other's ears. Wow, what a smell. Several hundred miles west of us, there is a whole flock of eagles that do want to spend some time with us. In fact, they want to have lunch with us and a little old lady from Homer.
On the end of Homer Spit in southern Alaska, our country's most majestic bird cries for a handout from the woman known as the Eagle Lady.
Yeah, that's all the kids. Oh, there's probably 150 sitting right around here. But they'll just kind of sit around there and wait for me to bring the food over to them.
Every day during the winter, Jean Keene makes a morning trip to the neighborhood fish factory to get a crate full of cod.
Yeah, it's the heads and guts when they butcher the fish out. It's the heads and guts from the fish.
To the bald eagle, it's a feast and quite possibly a life-saving meal.
I'm going to throw them all out to the birds, and you'll see them come in and swoop down to pick them up.
For the past 20 years, this has been Jean's wintertime ritual, feeding the powerful symbol of our nation like a common pigeon.
When I lived back in Minnesota, I fed a lot of birds, but they weren't eagles. And so when I came here, I didn't want to see stuff go to waste, and there's couple of seagulls and probably a couple of eagles sitting around. I threw some scraps out, and that's how it all started, just gradually built up. Now it takes between 60 and 80,000 pounds for the winter feeding. This is not a job for the faint-hearted. If the wind is blowing the wrong way, I can get a face full of slime and juice and all that stuff, so.
When Jean's done tossing out the cod heads, she moves to the courtyard of her trailer home to serve a second helping of fish.
It's just a lot of satisfaction, you know, to throw it out, and sometimes they'll grab it in the air and sometimes off the ground, and sometimes they get into squabbles and I have to scold them.
Even though Jean considers these birds to be part of her family, she always keeps her distance, and she never feeds them by hand.
Oh, no, never, never, no, never.
Plus, Jean would never think of abandoning her eagles on a nasty day like today.
I fed them in 40 below zero wind chill and 20 below zero wind chill a lot this winter. And that's when they need it the most, is when it's so cold. Well, I couldn't lay in a nice warm bed and have these hungry kids out here. That wouldn't be nice. A lot of people can do that. They go to bed with a full tummy and a nice warm bed. They don't care what's outside, what's going on out there, you know, hungry or hurt or whatever. But yeah, I know my conscience wouldn't let me do that.
When the weather finally quiets down and spring shows up, Jean will watch her eagles fly away to nest, and then wait for them to return next winter.
It takes a while to get used to not having them around when I quit feeding, but then I know that, you know, that's good for them to get out on their own.
Jean also rescues injured eagles that she finds there at the Homer Spit, and she takes them to the Raptor Center where they fix them up and let them go. Don't go away, we're going in search of even more wildlife. We'll show you Alaska like you've never seen it before.
Welcome back. Our first story took first place in the editing category of the Alaska Press Club Awards. We know you'll enjoy the Eagle Lady of Homer.
She has long been a fixture of the Homer Spit, occupying her small RV and yard near a nearly empty RV park. The park is nearly empty, that is, save for the more than 200 eagles gathered there for a midday meal, courtesy of Jean Keene.
I've always fed birds. Never, it's the first time I've fed eagles, but we've had some tough winters here where a lot of them would not have survived, especially the weaker ones and ones with bad feet and bad beaks. And especially this winter, when we had so much snow and very cold weather. This year they're very aggressive to get the food. And so that this way by spring they're nice and fat and sassy. And but there's a lot of satisfaction in knowing that they're fed, not laying out there starving.
Her love of Alaska's abundant eagle population began as a unique way to dispose of some fish scraps. but over the years, it's developed into a personal relationship with the nation's symbol.
One thing led to another, and I was supervisor over here for Icicle Seafoods for a long time, and of course I had access and to leftover fish and stuff. I'd start bringing home a bucket or two, and then of course it led to a lot more than that.
The Eagles get fish scraps donated by local processing plants and local citizens, recycling what have been thrown out to rot. Some years, she's laid out 60,000 pounds of fish heads and scraps to the hundreds of young and mature eagles patiently perched on every conceivable spot surrounding her home or soaring overhead. Her efforts have drawn attention of national and international media organizations. TV crews from foreign nations have made the trip to the end of the spit to document a day in the life of the Eagle Lady. Likewise, photographers from around the globe and nation have been privileged to enter Keene's yard to get some of the most amazing shots of this rare gathering.
They can get closer to the birds here without bothering them than they can anywhere else. And so that I don't allow any tripods set up outside the fence. But in here, you can go ahead and set your tripod up, and as long as they're not hanging over the fence and making quick, fast moves, you know, and stuff, the birds have accepted them. Oh, God, look at that.
But there's an added benefit in providing visiting families and children with the chance for a shot that's usually been reserved for professionals with the biggest lenses.
I get more of a kick out of throwing a piece of food by a car that's got a bunch of kids in it. Then they have an eagle go up there and they just squeal with delight. You know, I get a bigger kick out of that than anything. And 99% of the kids are great.
To keep from disturbing the feeding, Keene keeps some strict rules for those who choose to come out to the Homer Spit to watch and photograph.
I lay down some solid rules and regulations for everybody, even the photographers. And so that, and I hope they appreciate the fact, and I think 99% of them do, and the fact that they can get so close to birds. To some of them it means a great deal, to others it doesn't mean a tinker's damn.
But Keene's feathered feeding program has not been without its critics. In the early days, some of her Homer neighbors and the Department of Fish and Wildlife had expressed concerns for possible impacts on eagle feeding habits, the birds' health, or they're getting used to being around humans. Those charges, Keene said, have been disproven over the years.
There's always going to be people opposed to it. But, you know, when I started doing it, you know, years ago, they said, well, she's going to have 1,000 birds here. They're going to all die of a disease, and they're all going to starve the minute she quits feeding them in the spring. Well, none of this has happened.
Jean Keene's future on the Homer Spit and her voluntary eagle feeding program is uncertain, she says. Developers are interested in adding condominiums to the Land's End Resort, and there's talk of building a new marine repair terminal out here. Either one will bring increased activity to the Spit, and Keene fears that may forever change the environment and comfort level of the hundreds of eagles who annually converge here. For now, that's little concern for the eagles, who will soon be off to continue their own life cycles, just a little stronger for the care provided by the Eagle Lady of Homer, Jean Keene. In Homer, I'm Gary Fife, Inside Alaska.
And she is a remarkable lady. Our thanks to Jean Keene for the visit, and congratulations to photographer Mike McCormick.
I have a neosporin thing in my...
You what? You think that,
He needs a shot. Yeah, septic shot, huh? I think that thing will be healed up.
You're watching KTVA, the award-winning Anchorage 11 News this morning, where your forecast comes first.
An eagle that was found shot on the Homer Spit is slowly recovering. This morning, the bird is resting after emergency surgery at the Bird Treatment and Learning Center. The female eagle lost a good portion of her upper beak in the shooting, which workers estimate happened sometime in mid-March. Now, they're hopeful that she will survive, but they say the recovery could easily take a year.
A long recovery period, and that's if everything goes absolutely the way you want it to go, which means that there's a lot of other maladies that go on with this that it's all, it's an unknown at this point.
Now, workers at the center say this is the second eagle they've received this year from Homer that had been shot. If authorities find the person who did it, they could face a fine as high as $100,000 and up to a year in prison.